What's good in YouTube? Gabe from Nexus Core here, once again with another One Piece card game video. Sorry for the massive delay in content. I recently moved back home and I have been incredibly lazy and haven't felt like uploading or recording anything despite both the games finally been released here over stateside as well as the massive wave of new cards being announced. But in that spirit, we will be pressing on forward as if nothing happened, and we are going to continue looking over new cards because as of this morning, we have finally gotten the full reveal of the Big Mom Pirate starter deck, which is starter deck '07, and our first look at the yellow color for the card game, and I am beyond excited. Very early on, it was confirmed that this color would be working with life manipulation, which I love in all of my card games. Anything that can interact with life in an defensive way is something I like, especially if you can also do it offensively. So I was immediately excited by this deck and what it was able to do. So I would like to thank OnePieceTopDecks.com for providing all of the translations. So as you can see from this image, credit going to One Piece TCG Spain, we have all of the art and all of the cards that you can expect to see. So we have Charlotte Anana, Flampe, Pudding, Brûlée, Mont d'Or, Zuth, Prometheus, Peckhams, Daifuku, Baron Tamago, Katakuri, who is obviously going to be one of the super rares in the set, Charlotte Snack, Big Mom herself as a character, and then Events and Big Queen Mama Shanter as the stage card. I'm both surprised and also think it is really, really funny how they made Snack a card, but didn't make a card for Cracker, the sweet commander who actually fought, or Smoothie, the sweet commander that never lost a fight, even though she hasn't done anything, but they still gave it to the ultimate fail son, who wasn't even a sweet commander by the time Luffy got to Whole Cake Island, but I digress. We are just going to go in descending order of the translations going down. So first is Soul Pocus, the 5-cost event. I think we're very early, so that's why they haven't had time to get a high-quality image of the card next to each effect. So Soul Pocus, which is going to be a 5-cost event, so it's this one right here, who is a 4-Emperor/Big Mom Pirate 5-cost event. Main phase, your opponent chooses one of the effects below. Your opponent either trashes the top of their life area, or they place the top card of your deck in your life area, and its trigger is you can activate this card's main effect. So my knee-jerk reaction is this is very, very strong because obviously either burning your opponent for one just for a 5-cost or getting life for free for a 5-cost is pretty good. Doubly so if you can use it as a trigger for free. My one caveat to how strong this card is that because your opponent chooses and because it specifies that they don't take damage, they trash their life area. If your opponent has 0 life, this won't kill them. So your opponent can simply choose to trash the top of their life, but because there is no life to be trashed, this card is functionally a vanilla or just a brick by the time your opponent reaches 0 life. However, if your opponent has 1 life, this is automatically really good because it's either 5 cost to recharge one or to burn one, which I'm not going to complain about, especially if it's a trigger. And because, as we'll see later on, yellow does have ways to manipulate and guarantee triggers, being able to put this into your life to get its effect for free early on, or if your opponent has the 0 life, just getting rid of a brick and turning it into life via a card effect isn't even that bad. So this seems like it has the potential to be a very, very powerful card going forward. Next, we have Baron Tamago, who is a vanilla. It's your usual 4 cost, so 4/6 strike, Big Mom, and counter 1000. Charlotte Anana. I think it's really funny how we're getting child soldiers in our card game, but you know, what are you going to do? Anime is going to anime, card game is going to card game, and she is a vanilla 1/3 counter 1000. Flampe is the 2-cost vanilla, so 2/4 counter 1000. Peckhams the 3 vanilla, 3/5 counter 1000. The only difference is that he's also part of the mink, so give me that multicolored mink deck. You know we have a bunch in green. So finally, onto our first actual character effect is going to be Charlotte Snack, who is a cost 5, power 6000, Big Mom Pirate. Don 1 on attack. You may either add the top or bottom of your life to your hand. This character gains Banish and 1000 for this battle. I don't think this is going to be seeing its way once we actually get set 3. I don't think this is terrible, especially because you do get to add life to your hand, but because it's a 5 cost, it's kind of heavy. It doesn't have a counter going into it, and getting Banish is good. And we are seeing some play with cards that add life to their hand, like Sanji in the red decks. However, Sanji is a cost 2 and it has 2k counter, so it's a lot easier to bring out early and it's a lot easier. You can also guard with it. Whereas this, if your opponent has a blocker, you're not going to use its effect. And 8,000 isn't bad, but you're probably going to want to pump it up a lot to actually make it threatening and get the Banish off. I don't think this is bad. I just wouldn't be surprised if once we actually get set 3 support, this is finding its way on the cutting room floor. Next, we have Power Mochi, our other event rather, who is cost 1. Counter, look at up to 1 card from the top of you or your opponent's life area, place it at the top or the bottom of that life area, then your opponent then up to one of your leaders or characters gets 2,000. Trigger, draw a card, look at up to 1 card from the top of you or your opponent's life, and put it at the top or bottom. I think this is quite decent. It's your standard 1 cost 2k counter, but even then the information is very good. If you use it very early when you don't know what the top of your deck is going to look like, you can get an idea of sculpting it like you're using, say, Desert Spada in blue, or you can use it to get information out of your opponent's life, because the nice thing about being able to check your opponent's life is that when you deal them damage, you know what's coming. One of the big worries when you're going into the aggro is you don't want to give your opponent either good defensive cards or cards they're going to use on their turn. So being able to know what you are going to give them when you attack them is actually pretty good on its own. So I think this is going to see at least a tech slot at 2, just as the obligatory 2-cost counter, but this is a pretty decent effect going forward. Next, on to our actual associated art with cards, we have Prometheus first, who is a 3/3 counter 1,000 active main. You may rest this card. Up to one of your Charlotte Linlins gets double attack, and trigger, you may play this card. So what is nice about this is all it specifies is the card name of Charlotte Linlin, so you can actually use this on your leader, so you will not have to worry about not having a target. But at the same time, this is so easy to interact with. Yes, you can play it as a trigger, so you don't need to pay cost, and then on your next turn, you can rest it to give your leader double attack and just pump a bunch of Dawn under it. But one of the big problems with double attack is having it be under characters that don't have high attack stats, and the leader only has 5k. So, while we did see there was a bigger Big Mom, that is a card you are going to need to draw into. So, I don't really see this seeing much play, because double attack is, I think we're seeing a bit of an overrated ability, not in that it's bad, but in that it's so easy to counter, especially if you don't have the ability to keep a big number on it as well, because unlike, say, the Douglas Bullet in the film starter deck, the Charlotte Linlins don't have double attack natively. Prometheus gives it to them, and Prometheus is also a 3k, so you'd probably be giving your Linlin the double attack once, and then Prometheus is just going to get attacked. Zoro pumping up the on-place Nami, that Nami can hit Prometheus, so you're probably only going to get the chance to give double attack once unless you see a second copy of Prometheus, so I'm not sure this is going to be seeing its way into the deck. Next, we have Charlotte Daifuku, who is a 4-cost 5k counter 1,000 Big Mom Pirate, and he is Dawn 1. On attack, you may take 1 card from the top or bottom of your life area, put it into your hand, put up to 1 card from the top or bottom top of your deck into your life area. This is quite nice. I actually think this is more likely to see play over the Charlotte Snack, solely because your life is breaking even. Yes, he isn't getting power. Yes, he isn't getting banish, but he is lower cost to bring out. He actually has counter, which I believe Snack does not have counter associated with him. And you get to go +1 in terms of firm resources, which is quite nice. Also, if you know what the top of your deck is, you can just add it to your hand and then top deck the next thing and look at that via another card effect. So being able to effectively, this is in a way a glorified draw 1, but through that weird convoluted manipulation, and having that as an on attack for 6k fundamentally, because it has the Dawn Mine times 1 under it, is actually pretty good, and it also coming with the 1k counter and a not bad stat line is actually pretty decent. So this is a solid card, and it's kind of, I would put it above Snack, but if the yellow support winds up being really good, I could see a world where this gets cut, but this is quite solid, especially for a starter deck card. Next, we have the homeboy Zeus, who, similar to Prometheus, is a 3/3 with counter 1000. So, active main, you may rest this card. You up to one of your Charlotte Linlins gains banish during this turn. Trigger, play this card. So, it's the exact same thing as Prometheus, except it gives banish instead of double attack. And for that reason, I also don't think it's going to be seeing play. I think Banish isn't a great ability. I really don't know if I think Banish is better or worse than Double Attack in terms of just how good they are, but it has the exact same problems as it because it's fundamentally an on-hit ability that you are inheriting from a different card that is very easy to hit, especially in this meta, so I don't think Zeus is going to be making it. Next, we have our big star of the show, Charlotte Lynn herself, so we know this can be given the effects inherited from Prometheus and Zeus, who is a 7-cost 8k for Emperor Big Mom Pirate. On play, your opponent chooses one from below, trash one at the top of their life, or put one from the top of your deck into your life. So, very similar to the Soul Pocus. This is quite good because it has the exact same effect fundamentally, but you have a higher cost for actually keeping a body of decent power. So everything I said, I would really just be repeating myself. It is a strong ability to have. However, because you are giving your opponent the choice, this does become a brick once your opponent is at 0. However, provided we have ways of turning cards in hand or board into life, you can just get rid of the brick basically as a chump shield by putting it into the top of your life stack. So even as a brick, it does have that use within the color identity, which makes it quite good. I can also see a world where you are running 4 of this and 4 of the Soul Pocus, and the entire point of your main deck is either bird effects or attacking into your opponent's characters and never actually attacking their leader solely so you don't give them hand power, which, if that winds up being good, I can see it being very good. So honestly, yellow might have the potential of being kind of cracked if I'm thinking about this correctly. Of course, we have to wait and see. But this is very solid. And effectively, Soul Pocus is Linlin copies 5 through 8. So I think this is shaping up to be pretty good, and I really like Linlin's effect. So, announced alongside her, we had the Queen Mama Shanter, who is a yellow stage, cost 2, active during the main phase. Rest this stage, you may add a card from the top or bottom of your life to your hand, then place up to one of your 3-cost characters on top of the owner's life area, face up, and then trigger play this card. I think this sucks. Your life is, of course, staying the same, but the problem is because it based on its wording, it seems like the character needs to be on the board already. You need to play the character, and then put it into your life. So, granted, we have seen with Zeus and Prometheus, they have triggers associated, so you can play a card of a low-cost trigger to do so, but you're not really your advantage isn't changing. Let's say you have 0 cards in your hand and 1 life. You add that life, you have 1 in your hand, and then you have to place a character from your field into your life. So while your hand size went up by 1, your field size went down by 1, which kind of blows. And an interesting thing you can do is if you're playing Zeus and Prometheus, you could use their effect to give Linlin an inherited ability, then use Shanter to add a card and put the now rested Prometheus and Zeus into life, and then when you take damage, just play them as a trigger. If anything, this salvages them, but I don't think any of those cards are good enough to warrant running them outside of their synergy, and running them for the synergy is a lot of space. So I don't think Queen Mama Shanter is going to make its way into the deck at the end of the day. But on to the rest of the reveals. We have Charlotte Pudding, 2 cost 3k. On play, look at the one card from your life or your opponent's life and put it at the top or the bottom. So this is an early way of getting knowledge of what's going to happen. If you want to know what card you would be adding by, say, something like Queen Mama Chanter or Snack, you can. Or if you want to know what you're going to be hitting into your opponent, you can. Also, coming with 2K counter, this is probably going to see play for that reason alone. So all around, giving a decent effect onto a 2K counter, I'm already going to give it a good review. Next, we have Charlotte Brûlée, 3 cost, power 1000, blocker, trigger, play this card. It's like Boa Hancock from the blue starter deck. I think it has a higher likelihood of seeing play because yellow can manipulate triggers, but Boa was seeing 0 play, and I don't think this is going to see any play. Just because it's, even if you ignore the cost because yellow can manipulate life and you are able to just get her into life manually, she's a 1k blocker, which, like, not really a whole lot to say about that. It's not bad, and it's a blocker you can cheat out, so I might be... It depends on how good yellow gets at trigger manipulation, and if it gets really good, then you might be able to justify it to effectively cheat the thing out. But part of me hopes it doesn't see play and we just get low-cost cards you can play manually. And I believe this is the last card before the leader herself, who is going to be our second SR, Charlotte Katakuri, who is a 4-cost 6k. On play, look at the top of your or your opponent's life, put it at the top or bottom of their life, then if your life is less than your opponent's, this character gets Rush. I think this is quite solid. So, first off, it is a card outside of red that has the potential of getting Rush already. Yes, you need to have lower life, but you can easily play with that. As well, it is a 4-cost 6k, which is quite solid of a stat line. As well, you do get the knowledge of both your and your opponent's life, or not both, you get to pick one. So if you don't know what it is, you can know what you would be adding off of damage or what your opponent would be adding off of damage because you are hitting them with Rush that turn. So I think this is a solid card. However, I think, again, similar to a lot of the cards I've been reviewing, I think a lot of yellow kind of depends on how much you want to lean into the trigger manipulation playstyle. And honestly, because this doesn't have a trigger and it doesn't force a trigger, part of me can imagine a world where this card actually doesn't see play because the Rush in the stat line is good, but because it doesn't let you gain advantage or trash your opponent life, for example, I don't really know how much this is going to be interacted with. So I think this is a solid card. In terms of starter deck SRs, my knee-jerk reaction is to put it into the 7-cost Dofi tier in terms of power level. Not like, it's not as bad as the 5-cost blocker Croc, but definitely not as good as, say, Kaido or the 5-cost Luffy. But I think this is a solid card that's definitely worth consideration. And last but not least, going in reverse order, the first yellow card revealed is the leader, Charlotte Linland herself, 4 Emperor and a Big Mom Pirate, the usual mono stat line, so yellow, 5 cost, 5 life. Dawn 2 on attack, add the top or bottom of your life to your hand. If your life is 2 or less, put up to 1 card from your hand onto the top of your life. I really don't know what to say about this. Obviously, it is a solid card because it has that cycling. I just don't like that it has the life 2 or less restriction because I don't like that you're effectively damaging yourself. As well, I don't like that you you have to effectively break even, let's say, when you are at the 2 or life less. So you're either, if you have 3 or more, you're going to take the damage, but if you have 2 or less, you are breaking even in terms of that advantage. And if you're at 0, you just can't use this effect, period. So I don't think it's a bad ability, obviously, and it works really well with the deck. And because we have some ways, of putting cards into the life, maybe that will make this a bit better. But because of this effect, and we let's see, all cards like Soul Pocus and the 7-cost Big Mom SR, where you add life to, you add your deck to your life. I think that the self-damaging is not going to be that big of a deal because you have ways of recharging your own. And if you don't recharge, your opponent is going down with you. So I think that ultimately, at the end of the day, this is a... Excuse me. I think this is a fine ability, is the best way I can say it. I think, honestly, as I'm reviewing this, a card like Zoro from set 1 is really kind of ruining the curve for evaluating leaders, solely because it is a good ability that is active every turn. Because I'm also forgetting that something like Kaido, for purple, the mono purple Kaido, his effect you use once a game at most, usually, and his deck is doing fine. Eustace Kid, you're not restanding every turn, so an ability that you're not using every turn doesn't mean it's bad. There's plenty of good abilities, so I do think Linlin is good. It's just, I think I'm evaluating it as a leader relative to some of the really good leaders we're getting. But I think this is ultimately a well-designed leader, not broken but a good effect. And at the end of the day, all of these cards makes me incredibly excited for the yellow reveals in set 3 and that set to come. I honestly could see a world in which this is my favorite color to play. I just love this play style. All of the cards just seem super neat, and I love that ability to manipulate triggers. So I'm very excited at the end of the day. So I think this is going to wrap it all again. I'm sorry again for the massive delay in content updates. I have been very lazy and not wanting to, so I'm going to try to keep going. I've been preaching the word of this game to my friends, and I've been getting my friends into it, so hopefully we can get some gameplay up on the channel, and hopefully as set 3 gets revealed, I'm able to start revealing those cards as well, and hopefully I'm able to find some other big tournaments to evaluate so I can keep doing some meta analyses after set 2. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.